pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed for review. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Mrs. Lester?
I so move that we accept the minutes.
Thank you. And seconded by Mr. Sibrel. Roll call on accepting the minutes.
Ames.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Malone.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Sibrel.
Yes.
Trutchell. Yes.
And the minutes have been approved. Now we have reports from the committees. Mrs. Malone.
Thank you, President Arnold. The Engineering Committee has one item on tonight's agenda, which we just all heard about. It's the third reading for an ordinance to approve the proposed rezoning of property located at 605 East Main and 15 Brownell Street from R8 to C2. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, Mrs. Patrick.
Thank you. The Utilities Department has 3 items on tonight's agenda, and I'll start from the bottom and work up. Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance to authorize the law director to surrender stocks for the Utilities Department. And what this is, in a bankruptcy settlement with Halig Meyer from Central Center, we received 3 shares of stock as payment of their water bill. By law, the law director is not allowed to hold stock, so at the appropriate time I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule so the law director can sell the stock as soon as possible. Item number 5, it's the first reading adopting the recommendation of the Utilities Rate Review Committee. The Rate Review Committee has recommended to not take any action on the water and sewer rates until after a cost allocation study is complete and the committee reviews the results. At the appropriate time, I will also ask to waive the 3-read on this. And I just want to give a little bit of background on this Rate Review Committee. And I got my information from the mayor. In 1988, our entire distribution system had major problems. That year, the city suffered from a drought. Because the system could not keep up with demand, water rationing became necessary. It was determined, based upon a study by Burgess and Neipel, that a new plant and upgrade of the system was needed. This was the result of lack of maintenance and planning throughout the prior years. To pay for the multi-million-dollar upgrade, the rates had to be increased 139%. Because of such a sharp increase in water rates, the citizens were conservative in their water use. Accordingly, the following summer, we had no choice but to increase the rates again by more than 20%. These large increases at one time were the result of previous city leaders being able to say that they did not raise water rates for a number of years. The Utility Rate Review Committee was created to avoid this situation. It is felt that justified small increases are easier on the citizens than the huge crisis situation increases. This committee looks at the revenue, expenses, the utility director, and the auditor recommendations to determine if the increase is needed. The committee is comprised of the mayor, utilities director, council president, utilities committee chair, auditor, and 2 citizens. This committee will meet after the cost analysis study is complete to review its findings. The committee will also take into consideration the facts that the rates have remained the same this past year, increases have increased this last year, and there needs to be some improvements and upgrades made to the sewage treatment plant in the near future. No one wants to raise rates, but we need to protect our investment in our utility infrastructure. The goal of this committee is to be proactive and forward-thinking to avoid a repeat of our past mistakes. And I'll move on, and I will ask to waive the 3-read rule on that. So item number 4 is the third item we've got up. It's a second reading appropriating $10,000 for the cost allocation plan for utilities and transit. This cost allocation plan is needed to justify the general fund reimbursement from utilities and transit. The last plan was done in 2003. This plan is acceptable documentation for the state auditor. This cost allocation plan can be used as information for grant applications. And again, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule. And I would like to address one other utility item, and it's the change to monthly billing. I've received several phone calls on this, and I just want to stress that the customers on fixed incomes are finding it increasingly difficult to pay the larger bi-monthly bill. The economy has caused the dollar amount of delinquencies to continue to increase, and the delinquent bills will now be roughly half the dollar amount that they were, and hopefully easier to pay. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Knight, I'm sorry, Mr. Trutchell?
All right. Thank you, President Arnold. The Parks and Recreation Committee has one item on tonight's agenda. It's the third reading of a resolution granting the use of our city park for the use during TOSR, which is the Tour of Scioto Valley bicycle event that happens every year. We entertain somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 cyclists on those 2 days, on the Saturday and Sunday, and it's quite an event to see all the bicyclists go through town. And we've had a really good relationship with these folks all the years, and they do come up with a donation to the city Parks Department at the end of each year. So on May the 8th, looking out for bicyclists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trutchell. Mrs. Ames?
Thank you, President Arnold. I attended the fiscal year 2010 Community Development Block Grant public hearing, which was held recently. The monies from this grant must benefit low and moderate income persons, aid in the prevention and elimination of slum and blighted areas, or meet an urgent need of the community. At this meeting, heads of various agencies in town met, along with Matt Allen, Chief of Staff, and Julie Clifton from the City Economic Development Office, and a funding representative. Each agency director gave a report on activities and needs of their agency. Based on both citizen input, including local housing advisory committee and local officials' assessment of city needs, the city has a proposal for the 2010 CDBG grant, and this is item number 3 on the agenda tonight. This is the second reading of this. The second public hearing will be held this coming Monday, March 15th at 10 a.m. in the City Hall first floor conference room. This is to give citizens the opportunity to review and comment on the CHIP application and the proposals. The deadline to submit this grant is April 1st, so we still have time, and I'm not going to waive this tonight. Notification of monies awarded should come sometime by the beginning of October. We are also closing out the 2008 CDBG grant. The goals for the 2008 grant were to do 7 low-income rehabs, 5 are complete, and the final 2 are being completed, to do 13 home emergency repairs such as roofs or HVACs, and 13 were scheduled to be done and 18 were actually completed, to provide emergency assistance to 25 families for things such as fuel bills or mortgage assistance, and 25 families were slated, and we actually helped 55 families, and to construct 2 Habitat houses. 1 is complete and the second one is almost complete. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any other reports from council? Mr. Prohl?
Thank you, President. We have Safety Service Committee has no items on the agenda tonight, at least not yet. I handed out a ordinance that I would like added to the agenda tonight, dealing with the trade-in of 2 vehicles from the police department. So at the appropriate time, I would ask that we waive the 3-day receipt rule.
Pardon?
Now's good.
Yeah. So I make a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule.
We have a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule. Mrs. Ames seconded that motion. Roll call to waive 3-day receipt.
Ames.
Yes?
Cross.
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Malone.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Sharp.
No.
Sibrel.
Yes.
Trutchell. Yes.
And we have waived the 3-day receipt rule. That will read as item number 7 on the agenda this evening. Anybody else?
Also, I'd like to add that at the appropriate time, because of the timing of this being, this was something that they had asked for a while back, but due to some difficulties, we were not able to get it on the agenda. I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule so that they can process this transaction, which is already sort of in the works.
All right. Any other reports from council committees?